Except for a handful of states in the Southwest, marijuana is still legal in the United States. But with Anslinger's arrival in 1930, marijuana is the new drug problem born out of the trouble in the Southwest with Mexican migrant workers. In 1931, Mexican repatriation becomes law. Mexicans who don't go quietly are subject to varying forms and degrees of harassment. Many are charged with vagrancy. Others are arrested for violation of new state marijuana laws that are often an excuse to drive Mexicans out of the country.
Almost 2 million individuals were deported from the United States in the 1930s. Some estimate that almost 60% of those that were deported were United States citizens.
It was the depths of the Depression, and these Mexicans had been a very useful labor force in the 20s when we needed them, but now as the Depression, you got all these gringos in the breadline, you sure as hell don't need all these Mexicans. So how could we stigmatize them and get rid of this cheap labor force and get them out of here?
Anslinger can do nothing to stop the push from states of the Southwest for a federal law against marijuana. The issue is less about the dangers of the drugs and more about politics. Marijuana is entangled in immigration problems.
I remember when I interviewed Harry Anslinger about it, he said we weren't having any trouble with it. You could get it in Harlem, he said, and it was not a problem. But the pressure came from the Southwest and the West, where the Mexican immigrants were seen as a unnecessary and dangerous surplus population. And so there was a tremendous campaign to try to push the Mexican immigrants back into Mexico. And marijuana got mixed up in that, because there was no question that they grew marijuana and smoked marijuana.
The Treasury Department intends to pursue a relentless warfare against the despicable, dope-peddling vulture who preys on the weakness of his fellow man.
After 5 days of hearings, the marijuana tax law goes to Congress for a vote. It's passed within weeks by roll call vote. President Roosevelt signs the bill on August 2nd. It takes effect October 1st.
In the first full year after the Marijuana Tax Act was passed, Black people were about 3 times more likely to be arrested for violating narcotic drug laws than whites. And Mexicans were nearly 9 times more likely to be arrested for the same charge. And Mexicans were nearly 9 times more likely to be arrested for the same charge.
World War II has begun.
What the United States did at that time was to send out draft notices to those 10-year-old boys in 1931 that were now in Mexico, would send draft notices to those now 20-year-old men to come back to the United States and fight on behalf of the United States in World War II. We couldn't document one young man that refused to come back and serve the United States in World War II.